Have you ever looked at all the gear musicians use and wonder, how does it all work? My name's Dustin, and my family and I are setting out on a quest to inspire both adult and kid musicians to create new sounds together and learn all about what it takes to produce great music. We'd like to invite you along on the journey as we explore the gear professional studios, musicians, and hobbyists use to create their art. We'll take a close-up look at the gear and ask,
what's this button do?
Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of What's This Button Do? I'm your host Dustin, and today I am so excited to get to show you the new Carbon X from our friends over at Browne Amplification. You see, Browne Amplification made a pedal several years ago called the Protein that is one of my favorite overdrives of all time. It has two sides to it, the green and the blue side. And the blue side was always my favorite sound. It was just this really beautiful, lighter gained overdrive that just could push your amp into a whole new world of happiness. Recently, David has gone back to the drawing board and created the Carbon X, which is two of the blue side of the Protein put together, but he didn't just stop there. It's not just like you took two proteins, stuck them together, and you just turned on the blue side on both of them. He revoiced both sides. So now you get two different sounds that can cascade into each other to create some amazing, beautiful harmonics and some rich gain, but also just some beautiful boosts in and of themselves. But I can ramble about it all day long. I think what we'll do is we'll hop over to the demo board. I'm going to show you some basic sounds out of the Carbon X, and then we'll do a little comparison between that and the old Browne Protein so you can hear the difference between the two and maybe even run them into each other so you can hear them together, because that's really where the magic is. So join me over the pedal board and let's take a listen. All right, so for today's demo, we're going to be using the trusty Syfe OH10 with a killer telly pickup in here. Here's what our cleans sound like. Nice chimey telly sound. What I thought we would do is we're going to take this and we're going to run it through three different settings. We're going to start with the original Browne Protein, which I have down on the board in the floor in front of me. And I've got everything set right around noon. And what we're going to do is we're going to listen to what the original blue side of the Browne Protein sounded like. Then I'm going to hop over to the Carbon X and let you hear what the Carbon X sounds like on each side comparatively to that. So let's start off with the Browne. I'm going to turn that on real quick. And you're going to hear. Hear a little bit of grit on the edges, a little bit of chime there. Cool. Now what we're going to do is we're going to deactivate that. We're going to turn on the right-hand side of the Carbon X. Now the Carbon X is toned a little bit different on the right-hand side. It's using the Browne Protein original blue side as its model, but what they've done is they've kind of taken a little of the restraint off of there and in a way boosted up a little bit of the treble edge and a little bit of the high mids and washed out some of the other sounds. So what you're going to hear here is you're going to hear a little grittier, gainier edge around the sides, and you're going to hear just a little bit more treble. So let's play it that, about the same settings. You hear there's just a little extra chime to that treble side. It's just got that little extra grit around the edges and this really nice ringing chime, almost harmonic to it in there. So I really love that setting. Now the left-hand side of the Carbon X is a little different. Again, with the settings set around the same spot, I'll turn up the volume just so it's about the same angle as this one. What you're going to find on the left-hand side is that that's a cleaner tone. So what they've done there is they've added in that little switch to the left-hand side. And what this is just simply a high cut. So when it's in the middle position, there's nothing happening. On the lower position, you get a little bit of a high cut. And on the upper position, you get a really heavy high cut. I like this with the high cut on. It's very imperceptible. Like, I'll just play you a couple notes. You can hear it just takes some of that chime out of there. And also, when you have it at higher gain levels, it also tames some of that gain down. But we'll leave it with that completely off for right now, just so you can hear the difference. So let's go back to the original, or sorry, the Carbon X right-hand side. Now the left-hand side. You can hear there's very little grit around those edges. There's very little distortion happening there. This is just this beautiful, clean, chimey tone. Let's compare this to the original Browne Protein now. I'm gonna do the same exact thing over here. This is the original Browne Protein. You can hear that treble is just coming out more. Those high mids are coming out a little bit more. And it's just this beautiful ringing boosted tone. That's what that left-hand side is going to give you. And when you engage and start driving it a little bit more, adding in that high cut there just sweetens the deal a little bit. So now we've compared them to the original. Let's go back. We're going to take a look at both sides in a little deeper way. So I'm going to switch back over. We're going to have just the carbon on right now. I'm going to go over to the right-hand side alone by itself for a second and show you what the knobs do here. Now, you'll notice here that when I've got this completely turned off, with the volume at about 1 o'clock, you're getting pretty close to unity gain. I can probably peel it back to close to noon. Especially if I have that gain up. I can take the gain down to about 9 o'clock and have this at about 1, and we'll have pretty close to unity. You hear it just thickens up a little bit of the lower and the mids there. But then the more gain we introduce into this, the more those highs start to shine a little bit and get gritty around the edges. A lot of gain and a lot of hair on the edge of that. Now the other thing, if we peel this back to about noon, the tone control on these is insane. So this is a huge sweep of tone control here. So if I pull this all the way back to the very lower levels here, and then start bringing it forward, you're going to hear the treble. Really start to shine. We get to about 3 o'clock. And all the way up, it's almost ice picky. You hear, there is a lot of treble boosting going on in that. Now, I like to set these where the arrow is pointing right toward the G in there. That gives you that little bit of extra treble without taking it too far over the top where you start to lose stuff, especially when you've got a tele pickup that's already naturally got a lot of treble to it. But the beautiful thing here is if you've got a Les Paul or a darker humbucker pickup, you can do the same thing. You can boost that tone up just a little bit, and that'll really help compensate for those darker pickups that you want to bring that out in. Vice versa, if I want to make this sound a little darker, I can roll that tone back. Especially if we start comboing up both units. Because if I do the same thing over here, if I bring that gain up to about 3 o'clock, and even maxing it out, now hear that. With the gain fully maxed out on that left side, I'm still not getting into a crazy amount of breakup. Let me do the exact same thing to the original Browne. I'm going to put the level right there, and I'm going to crank up the gain on that. And I want you to hear what that sounds like on the original Protein. Versus, oops. So we've played with the different settings here. Now let me go ahead. I'm going to bring this tone up a little bit. I'm going to take the gain back a bit, as I want you to hear the tone on this side of it as well. You notice right now there's very little gain going on in the background. This is one of my favorite settings on this pedal by itself. I absolutely love the left side with the gain at about 11 o'clock, the tone again kind of pointing toward the G, between the G and the A, and the level right around 1 o'clock. It just... Turn off my guitar. It's just such a beautiful boost slash sweetener. It sounds lovely. I'm going to show you what this sounds like when you cascade the two gain stages into each other. And to do this, we're going to start with them both at a pretty low gain setting. I'm going to take the gain down to around 9 to 10 o'clock on both sides. We'll leave our volumes right where they are. And I'm going to leave those tone knobs toward the G so we get a little bit of treble boost, but we're not getting an insane amount on there. Let's turn them both on. Now, the first thing you're going to notice, I've got them both on. You're not hearing a whole lot of extra gain. You can hear a little bit, but not a whole lot there. Now watch what happens. Let's bring up the gain on the right-hand side, because again, I'm going to use this as my boost. And go a little bit more. You're going to hear this chime from that right-hand side start to come over. Let's push it a little further. Let's see what we can get out of that. Love that, just a little extra push. Again, we're never getting into that heavy distortion territory. We're getting this beautiful sustain, this beautiful chime. We're getting just a nice overdrive sound without getting too over the top. But if we want to bring it up, we can crank that gain up. We can even bring a little bit extra gain there. Still really get some cool tone out of there. And if you bring the gains both up to around that 1 o'clock mark, but the real fun now is, say you already have a Browne Protein. The other thing that you can do is cascade that Browne Protein into this and use both stages to boost it up even more. So let's do that now. I'm going to take my Browne Protein. I'm going to take the gain to about 1 o'clock, the level to about 1 o'clock. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to kind of set it almost to the exact same settings as we have here on the right-hand side. And let's add that into the mix and just see what happens. Just cool, man. That extra crunch, that extra grit, that extra dirt. You really can stack all three of them together and get some really, really cool tones. Now, last but not least, I want to show you what happens if we go the opposite way and we use the front end of this as kind of a low gain drive and the back side as a little bit higher gain, because it does change the way that things are affected here. Because like I said, this back side has a lot less gain on tap. So I want you to hear what that sounds like, because it is a little bit unique and kind of fun. I really, really dig it. So let's listen to that. You get a little bit of that fuzzy grip from the first side, but you're not getting an overwhelming amount. It's not too much. It's not killer. And you really can tame that just by pulling the gain back just a little bit. You'll still get a little of that grit around the edges, but it just doesn't ever get too much. And what I love is this is really responsive to your picking. So if I go real light and gentle with my picking, you can hear. And I didn't turn my volume knob down there at all. That was just pick attack. Now, if I roll my volume knob back, I'm going to take it back about 25%. Hear how much that cleans up if I bring it back up? So your pick attack, your volume on your guitar, all of this plays so well with the Carbon X. Really what David has done here is given you this beautiful platform that can enrich your tones from just being a basic boost all the way up into some of those crunchier drive tones. But this is truly different than the Protein. So I am a huge fan of taking the Protein, stacking it with this. And when you really think about that, with two pedals, you've got four amazing drive tones that can go from all the way from basic to heavy distortion. Well, I hope that gives you a good kind of explanation of the difference between the two pedals, and you can hear some of those sound differences. You can tell the Carbon itself has got a little bit lower gain on tap, but a little bit more richness, a little bit more harmonic content, and having that high cut filter in there really allows it to shine with other pedals as well. In fact, honestly, on my board, what I'm liking doing is driving the Protein into the Carbon X so that it also benefits from that high pass or that high cut filter at the end of the chain to give it a little extra something to weed out some of that sound that you don't really want coming out of it. I find it just enriches that tone and makes it sound even better. So I'm absolutely loving this. I think this is going to be a huge compliment to each other. And not just with those two together, I think driving a lot of other pedals into the Carbon X is also a lot of fun with fuzzes and different sounds just to give them that little extra edge. So I hope you were able to capture some of those sound samples from this video. Please, if you have any questions, want to try other things, want to see other things on here, please comment down below. I would be glad to test this out with other pedals so that you can hear what they sound like together before you buy. But I really don't think you're going to be disappointed. I think what David's done here is absolutely amazing. The Carbon X, absolutely 10 out of 10. I would recommend this to anybody. And honestly, it'll work on any board. I could see this being used to boost up some heavier gain stuff, but I can also see it just being your one true boosts kind of low gain overdrive that just sweetens your tone, makes everything sound a little bit better. And having those two gain stages on there, just, you nailed it, David. I cannot say enough good things about this. Well, as always, I'd like to thank my friends over at Palen Music for hosting us. I really appreciate you having me out this week. Look for these soon. I've been working with Palen. I'm hoping eventually we're going to be able to get these in the store as well. So if you'd like to see that, make sure you reach out to Palen. Let them know that you'd love to see them start carrying Browne. Make a comment down below. We'd love to hear your feedback, because if you think you'd like us to carry these, we'll work with David and see if we can get those in the shop as well. Also, if you get a chance, please go follow me over on Instagram. I'll put a little link down here to What's This Button Do Dustin on Instagram. I'm going to be doing some more tests with this pedal, other things. We'll have a lot of fun content on there over the next couple of months as well, and especially this summer, we're going to be doing some fun projects together with me and Aria. So please join us over there. Next week, we'll be taking a look at something a little bit different that I'm excited about to show you. So I don't want to spoil anything yet, but we'll take a look at something fun next week. So please join us back here. Aria's going to be with us, and we're going to have a little experimentation. I think that'll be a lot of fun. So thank you so much for coming out this week. As always, I really appreciate you sharing your time with me. I'd be glad to answer any questions you have. Please leave them in the comments below. But thank you for being so supportive and coming out and watching the show each week. Well, we look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you soon.